All right, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check. I'm just trying to test this thing out and see what we can do with this. Thought I had a banner down here. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Hey, what's up, original RCJ 22? Hey, share this out. I'm just trying out this stream we are right now. I'm gonna get into a quick presentation on it, on some stuff. But yeah, if you got any, share it out. You know, any other people that we deal with in the community, share this out. Because I'm trying to figure out how to work this thing real quick. So maybe I can share it out too with my phone. Yeah, just stay tuned. Let's see who else we got here. I think that'll work. Get them up. So yeah. All right. Let's look at this thing. Hey man, I'm trying to figure this thing out, yo. I usually do the Zoom, but the Zoom ain't giving me what I want. What's up, Hope They Prepared? Peace to you, brother. How do I sound out there? Sound good? All right, so look. here's what I got going on here. This is what I'm gonna do. I put this up here for a reason. I'm gonna put this up here. This is what I got, and this is what we're gonna call infinite styles, right? So what you see right here, I want you guys to think about what you see. This is me encapsulated all in one. History, sports, civics, politics, law. So if you notice up in there, those are flags represented in infinite styles. Those are considered to be the flags of the five, what they call the five civilized tribes of the five nations. Did that. Shout out to the brother Zay, helped me out with that, because you know damn well I wasn't able to do nothing like that. But under the circumstances, this is what we're going to get into. Now, for instance, now I'm gonna freestyle this thing right here, right? You know, the one big thing that we've all talked about was dealing with should we participate in politics? Should we get involved in government? You know, did the people back in the day participate in government? There's been a lot of different aspects of it, and all of them are somewhat to be true. But if you actually deal with what we actually been discussing in regards to that and the debate was technically, I mean, you could say, yeah, they, you know, by default, if you consider to be quote unquote a black man, melanated, Negro color, you fall under those things, then at certain, you know, participating in government will be considered to be an accomplishment. But when you look at it from the other perspective, it wasn't an accomplishment. It was actually something that was done, to me, in proxy. I mean, but at the end of the day, you had to give up something. So when I just heard this one guy say that they brought 7 nations over here to fight us, right? And this was what they say in 1492. But in 1492, there was people being expelled and seeking refuge in places. Now, that'd be interesting. Somebody can show me where that actually happened. Now, let me show y'all something real quick. And I'm gonna bring this up. Let me share my screen. I'm just gonna go specifically to Windows. No, do it like this. Share screen. Let me see real quick. Hold on. Let's go back here. Debate. Where that? I'm just freestyling this thing right now. No. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to bring some of this stuff up right here. So we got this going on right here, right? So I'll be able to go a little bit more detailed, right? All right. So when you get up into this portion right here, can y'all see this? Where's it at? Okay, stop screen, present, share screen. The Zoom is a whole lot easier. All right. So right here. Now I want to be very specific about what's happening right here.
Citizenship. If you were an American Indian, the Supreme Court held more than 100 years ago that American Indians were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States.
Oh, wow.
So if we're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, right? Let's break this down. Okay. Let's break this all the way down. If you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, then that means you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, how does that work in contrast if you're saying that you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States? Okay. So if you're not, so what that means is, and let me just present my whole, stop screen, extra slides, video, image file. Okay, so let me add this whole share screen. All right. So if we come over here and we say, what is not subject to the jurisdiction of? And put quotes on it. All right, we're just going to do a quick search. So when you come up here, it says not subject to the jurisdiction of, refers to individuals present within a territory who are now bound by its full legal authority or allegiance, typically exempting them from birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. Now, see, I just typed that in there. They went straight to the Indians. straight to the Indians. So if they went straight to the Indians, then the 14th Amendment has everything to do with distinguishing birthright citizenship, being a United States citizen, and being able to get getting citizenship by birthright. Okay, so let's just be clear. Getting citizenship by birthright, right, under the 14th Amendment, right? So in 14th Amendment was the amendment that ran parallel with Article 1, Section 2. So we got key historical examples include foreign diplomats and their children and Native Americans who were previously considered separate sovereign entities. Okay, so if we go down a little bit more, key aspects of not subject to jurisdiction, it describes those who are not under the complete or exclusive authority of the U.S. government, often due to diplomatic immunity or historically by being part of a separate sovereign nation. So the Indians, they're calling them Native Americans, but the Indians fall under one or the other or both, either being having diplomatic immunity and or being a part of a separate sovereign nation. Now, we know that they were separate sovereign nations, number one, based on the fact that there was treaties already set up. And even in 1866, 67, 68, or whatever those dates were, there were more treaties set up. So foreign diplomats, children of foreign diplomats are the most clear example, as they are exempt from U.S. taxes, civil criminal laws, and the rest. Now, under Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, as we know, Section 2, Clause 3, it states, or the enumeration clause mandates that seats in the House of Representatives and direct taxes be apportioned among states based on population, requiring an actual enumeration, i.e. census, every 10 years. It guarantees each state at least one representative and originally included the 3/5 compromise for enslaved persons. Now, as we go down, it's not giving us that. So I'll just come over here. I'll just come down here. And we'll deal with this part where it says right here, including, but the thing they left out was, and excluding Indians not taxed. Now, when we go back over here, it comes up here where you have foreign diplomats. Children of foreign diplomats are the most clear example, as they are exempt from U.S. taxes. Indians not taxed. Let's blow that up. Indians not taxed. So that makes us what? Foreign diplomats. Not subject to taxes, civil, criminal laws, and the rest. You got to think about it. How are they able to get us up under these jurisdictions? Okay. Next bullet point, historical Native Americans. At the time of the 14th Amendment, Native American tribes were considered distinct political entities, not directly subject to U.S. law. Now, what does not directly mean? Not directly means that they figured out how to do it indirectly. And that's why we talk about these plenary laws that they were executing through Congress and these executive orders, because I think all three of them played the part in everything. Executive orders and national emergencies, Emergency War Powers Act or the Emergency Powers Act. The Article 2 takes over, which is the executive branch, and the president can now issue executive orders. Under those executive orders, it's a proposal to say, under these emergencies, this is what I need to get accomplished. You send it over to Congress, and then the House takes care of one thing, and then, Congress, the House of Representatives, then you have the Congress, and then you have the Senate. Once they do that, then they're able to codify it and bring it into law. Now, so if it's saying they're not directly subject to U.S. law, then how are they able to subject us indirectly? Now, this next bullet point, invading armies, children of foreign hostile forces occupying territory are not considered under the jurisdiction of the occupying state. Okay, what are they saying? Contemporary debate. While some argue that children of undocumented immigrants are not subject to the jurisdiction, mainstream legal interpretation generally rejects this, distinguishing between legal immunity, diplomats, and simply unlawful presence. All right. Okay. So under these circumstances, right? Because under these circumstances, what we have right here, right, when we come down, all right. Wait a minute. Okay, so this is the 14th Amendment. So we're still not taxed. Well, I'm saying we, because I know my people who got Indian heritage, so I already know what that is about. Yeah, we're still not taxed. So this is supposed to be the Civil War, emancipation, freeing slaves, so on and so forth. I mean, if you consider yourself to be an Indian, because that narrative is saying Native Americans, but in the Constitution, in the amendments, it never mentions a Native American. It mentions Indians. Now, anybody that wants to participate in that, they participated at their own demise, I would say. Because maybe some Indians did participate. Maybe they did come in there and to participate or whatever, or most of the time they went in with the notion that they will still have the privileges and powers that they had prior. You see what I'm saying? So, somebody calling me. Telephone number. So, under the circumstances, if that's the case, then you can't play both sides of the spectrum. Okay, so let's okay, so under the circumstances, we'll get to the other aspect of this whole situation, not subject to the jurisdiction of. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask it another question. Okay. So let's ask another question. Would Indians be considered foreign diplomats under the explanation you just gave? Be brief with your answer. I don't need a whole breakdown. And just answer the question. I don't need sites. It says no. Under the historical legal framework, Native Americans were categorized as members of sovereign quasi-nations rather than foreign diplomats. Foreign diplomats is okay, so excluded due to diplomatic immunity and formal allegiance to a recognized foreign state. So are you saying, see how they change it? So are you saying that Indians prior to the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act were not born to the U.S.? See, that's what I'm saying. See, this is what confuses people. While they were physically located within U.S. borders, the court ruled that Native Americans owed their primary allegiance to their tribe, not the U.S. Period. Because they were born in a separate political body, they were considered foreign in a jurisdictional sense. Similar to how a citizen of another country is foreign, even though they were indigenous to the land. Okay, so why are you saying no? Doesn't make sense. But see, this is how they confuse the whole situation. So under the circumstances, what we have right here. Hold on. Let me put my plug in. So, and the other thing about it, right, is what I didn't show is that when you listen to hip hop, especially on the East Coast, they always talk about it, right? They always talk about it, right, in their songs. Like for instance, this one, because I didn't get to play this at the end.
Another painting was black natives before Central Park. You know the claims, this was all native serene, and the year was like 16 something. So could this mean hustling began when the Indians finessed the Dutchman with opium on horseback? It's way before crack. We always been the mecca for supply and demand. In every era, legends in this land was going hand in hand. Damn.
Okay, so if you listen to that, that's Nas right there, for instance. They know this. I mean, because the East Coast was pretty much the mainstay of this whole United States of America. They know what happened, right? The Pequot, the Narragansett, the Wampanoag, the Seneca or the Shinnecock. You had all those going on, all those people, the Lenape people. So if he knew that,
another painting was black natives before Central Park.
So right there, he said black natives before Central Park. So that's the Seneca. Central Park was Seneca, the Seneca people area. So if everybody knows this, but the only way they're able to get it through is through song. Outside of that, they won't speak on it on a higher level.
You know the claims, this was all native serene, and the year was like 16 something. So could this mean hustling began when the Indian finessed the Dutchman with opium on horseback? It's way before crack.
So if we're looking at it from that perspective, right? We're looking at it from this perspective. This is what Nas is saying. Everybody's saying that it was the other way around. Dutch and all these people came in and got to conquering and whooping ass and taking names and so on and so forth. But obviously Nas knows something. The one thing about the East Coast that I like is that they really speak up on who they are. And they put it in their music. What I'm gonna do in one of these lives is I'm gonna actually bring up a lot of music. And most of that music you're gonna hear from the East Coast where they're talking about just this right here. Okay. And if that's the case, then we're talking about some things that need to be addressed. Whether we participated in the United States is really not that important. What needs to happen at this point in time, since we all the way inside, you know what I'm saying? We got all the necessary things that attach to us, right? Everybody has a birth certificate, social security card, driver's license, ID, passport, whatever you might have. You got a job, you got credit, you got loans, you got a mortgage, you got all this different type of stuff, right? And technically, they coerced us in a certain type of way. So the only way we're gonna get ourselves out is through that process. Let me give you an example, right? Let me give you an example. There's steps and levels to this, right? There's steps and level to this. And let me show you something. Let me show you something here. See, we're gonna go to Article 3, right? That's your judicial branch. All right. So this is the judicial branch of everything. What's taking so long? Yeah. All right. So look, So right here says the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity under the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties, or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. That's the law of the sea, commercial law, contract law, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. Now, right here, these last two, just to be clear, because people kind of run through those last things. Foreign states. So if you're foreign, considered to be foreign based on the definitions I just read. They call us foreign entities, foreign political entities, foreign nations, diplomats, not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. There you go. Now, comma, citizens or subjects. When you use the word or between two, that means the two can be considered to be interchangeable. Right? So now, when I go back over here, let's go back up to the top. Right. So participate in as a citizen. All right. So participate in as a citizen is defined as exercising sovereign rights and fulfilling civic obligations. So if you have obligations, that means you have to do it. You have signed up to be a citizen and you're obligated to fulfill these civic duties, which are inherent to membership in the state, right? Membership. That's what you consider to be participation. Participation means that you're signing up under your own free will to be a member of that state. Next, political sovereignty, legally defined as the exclusive right to vote. The next one, civic duty, includes mandatory participation in the judicial system through jury service. So now you know what to tell them when they call you for jury duty. Direct governance, involvement in shaping the decisions that affect their lives through initiatives, petitions, and participatory budgeting. There you go, participating again. All right. Now, technical meaning of participating in, and this is perfect. A participant is a human subject who gives informed consent to be a part of a study. Technically, participant is often preferred over subject. So, if you are a citizen, you are a subject. So which one are you? Are you foreign to the United States, or are you a subject of the United States? Because as I just showed you, what is subject to, right? What is subject to? Well, let me ask. What is all right? Boom. Not subject to the jurisdiction of refers to individuals present within a territory or not bound by its ordinary laws or authority. Not subject to. Often due to diplomatic immunity, foreign or tribal status. Remember what I said, or diplomatic immunity, foreign, or tribal status. All three can be interchangeable based on what you're doing. Okay? Just trying to give you guys a layout. You know, I'm freestyling this right now, but I think I'm catching a little flow here. Now, let's talk about the order of things, right? So when we have this right here, judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity. Stay right there real quick. In law and equity. Watch this. Let me show you something. Now, this is Title 25 United States State Code subsection 175. Obviously, this had to come in after the Indian Citizenship Act or something. I don't know, somewhere around this time. I don't know, maybe prior. I got to look into that. But as you see right here, boom. March 3rd, 1893. June 25th, 1948. Okay. So 1893, first one. So we got that date going on right there. So obviously, these people, it's safe to say that these people in 1893, when they brought this up, these were people that decided not to leave and become, I guess, part-time United States citizens in some form of fashion. But them recognize them as Indians, knowing that they're Indians and knowing that they was going to get some type of, some type of prejudice or discrimination or some harm to come to them based on them being that, then, there you go. Now, it says right here, it says United States attorneys to represent Indians. United States attorneys. In all states and territories where there are reservations or allotted Indians, the United States attorney shall, not may, shall represent them in all suits at law and in equity. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made. Either one. You see, there's no or in there. That means these are all distinct and different. Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made. So under here, you got Title 25, right? If you understand what Title 25 is, we go back real quick. Title 25, this is your code about dealing with the Indians. Let's go back. 175, United States attorneys to represent Indians in all states and territories. Now, let's get into this where there are reservations or allotted Indians. You see, it says or again. So people think reservation is just what you see over here with these Native Americans. But let me tell you what these natives, what they consider to be natives are. Everything that they have is considered to be a special type of tribal enterprise. It is a business. It is not connected with the United States, with the interior at all. It's not connected with the interior at all. That wasn't how it was supposed to have been set up. It was later set up over time through the civil rights in order to get them in. Now, maybe some of them getting some money from the interior or what I would, the Secretary of the Interior, but most of them have these things set up under the 501c3 or some type of 501c. And they're connected more with the Treasury than anything else because they know that they're not the indigenous people. They know they're not the Indians. That's why they always use the term Native Americans. Now, over time, with the sloppiness and with these plenary powers and what legislation is doing, they have convoluted the whole thing and created all this smoke screen and fog around these terms and identities of who people really are. And all that was done is be able to usurp us out of position so we wouldn't get our annual payments or our annuities from the treaties. Yeah, see? Now, if this is the case, then if you're looking for some type of remedy, some type of repair or restore, here you go. The reason why we can utilize these things now, and this is the only reason why we should get involved in any type of government or politics or any legislation at all, is to be able to put something on the table, focusing on this. This is why that's why I took that debate, because it was my opportunity to get the information out and show you what it really is. So under the circumstances, if the United States attorney is obligated, it has been mandated, has been ordered to represent the Indians. There you go. Who do you send your issue to? Based on the fact that they have put us in all these considered to be suspect classifications. Now let me show you suspect classification. Okay. So suspect classification refers to a class of individuals who have been historically subject to discrimination. Check. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment imposes a restraint on the governmental use of suspect classification. Check. There are 4 generally agreed upon suspect classifications. Race, check. Religion, check. National origin, check. And alienage, check, 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 and check. All right. So when they put us in this situation, they made us subject to these things based on, how do I say this? Based on threat, duress, and coercion. More importantly, they did it without full disclosure of what we call the meeting of the minds. That's what treaties are about, meeting of the minds. So if they did these things subject to the treaties, then they're out of pocket. under those circumstances, this is what we need to know. Now, here's the other thing. Okay, so superintendents by president over tribes west of the Mississippi. Now, if you people the people that stay east of the Mississippi, they have no considered to be under this code. No, the president is not considered to be a superintendent to them, right? And we're going to look up what superintendent means. So superintendents, the president is authorized to exercise general superintendence and care over any tribe or nation which was removed upon an exchange of territory under authority of the Act of May 28, 1830. It said upon an exchange of territory under authority of the Act of May 28, 1830, to provide for an exchange of lands with the Indians residing in any of the states or territories, and for their removal west of the Mississippi, and to cause such tribe or nation to be protected at their new residence against all interruption or disturbance from any other tribe or nation of Indians, or from any other person or persons whatsoever. Now let's just look up what superintendents means. Let's see what that means. Let's see what it means. Superintendents. So the management or arrangement of an activity or organization, which is supervision. Okay. All right. So let's go deeper in this. So supervision. So what it's saying here is that I need a lawful. Let's go here. See what Oxford's saying. Two meanings, see meaning and use. All right, let's go. Legal definition. Okay, so what are they saying right here? Act of oversight, management, direction, or control over a person, organization, place, or operation. It implies a typically authorized responsibility to supervise activities, ensure rules are followed, make decisions such as in construction, contracts, government administration, or maritime law. All right. So people will probably say, well, this means that they had control over us. No. Remember, I showed you that in these treaties and these understandings of what people did with the United States, it was for the United States to control their citizens, not the people. Right? Not the people. Because right here it says that and to cause such tribe or nation to be protected. Right? So that's their superintendents, to protect. And who are they protecting them from? Their citizens, any trespass or whatever, at their new residence against all interruption or disturbance from any other tribe or nation of Indians, or from any other person or persons whatsoever. So I guess these are Indians still on the other side of the Mississippi. I don't know. But I'm showing you what the authority is of these two entities. So you have the president and then you have the United States Attorney. Now, the United States Attorney is different from the Attorney General, right? The United States Attorney is higher, has more authority than the Attorney General. Okay, because the United States Attorney is considered to be the trustee. Okay, now to get to it, I will say this: when you're looking at the steps to take, just roughly speaking, I'm just freestyling this. Take it with a grain of salt. In knowing the players and who they are, right? In knowing the players and who they are, you know what I'm saying? And knowing the players and who they are, and knowing the players and who they are, these are the places that you need to seek your grievances. Now, I mentioned before that, they kept using African Americans or the slave trade in regards to reparations. But how can you provide funds for people that aren't original here? That has to do with their country. They are the ones that's supposed to be providing the reparations and calling for the people to come back home, so on and so forth. Or at least giving them dual citizenship. Now, with that being the case, I would say that we have more rights to reparations than anybody. Okay? So I'm going to explain why. We're going to look up what these definitions mean. Yeah, we're just going to go straight to it. Because when you get to what these definitions mean, you're pretty much dealing with the mainstay. To repair something means you had to lose something. To restore something means it has to be returned back to you. Okay, so as we go along, let's bring these down. Before I share my screen, I'm going to come down and get to it first. So, yep, here we go. Give me 1 second. Let's get this right. Here we go. All right, so boom, we're gonna enlarge this a little bit. Bring him up right there. And we'll share. Well, gonna be a few more minutes. I'm just testing this thing out. It's way difficult than this Zoom thing. All right, let's share screen. Share. Entire screen. All right. Now what we have here, let me make sure it's sharing. Is it sharing? Y'all still in there? Hold on, let me make sure it's sharing. All right, it's sharing. All right, so look, let's start off with repair. To mend, remedy, restore, renovate. To mend, remedy, restore, renovate. To restore it to a sound or good state after decay, injury, dilapidation, or partial destruction. Couple checks right there. We can even use the word decay if you want to get technical. Okay? And there's case law. And that's key how you put it together. Cite case law. It's called Article 4 of the Constitution, full faith and credit. Points and authorities. The word repair contemplates an existing structure or thing which has become imperfect. Check. We know, things a little bit imperfect right now. Things ain't running exactly how it needs to be ran. And pretty much for a long time, in my opinion. It means to supply in the original existing structure that which is lost or destroyed. If we are to be those people, and because a lot of people haven't really found any verification of any family member being on a boat coming from West Africa. But we do have records of Americans setting up colonies in West Africa. We do know that. And that's sort of around the times where they said that these slaves was coming up over here. Right? All right. So the word repair contemplates an existing structure. Right? So we know that America's been America and we are the Americans by definition. We claim it. Nobody has not denied it yet. And we have plenty of firsthand sources that say that the original people were melanated. So, or thing which has become imperfect and means to supply in the original existing structure that which is lost or destroyed. So we could say our identity is lost or it's lost and we're finding it. We can also say that our land is lost because we're not on it, or if we're on it, it is being shown that we don't own it and we're renting and we're being taxed and we're being trespassed upon and all the different things, right? Or destroyed. We have records of whole towns underwater, just like Nas mentioned about Seneca Park now being that Central Park. That's a good example. And thereby restore it to the condition in which it originally existed, as near as may be. Now, as near as may be means that throughout all the things that they've done, it won't be able to be repaired to where it's at, based on the fact that burial sites are covered up, destroyed, whole towns are gone. You're not going to be able to bring that back. But what you can do is you can return some of these things and be able to set it up the way it was originally to be set up, with people having the choice of going back or technically at least being able to get full control of it. Full control. Okay. So here you go. You got another Childers versus Spear, another court case. Repairs are chargeable to current income, whereas repairs are chargeable to current income, whereas an improvement is a capital expenditure, meaning, you're going to have to pay. Repairs are chargeable. Okay? Repairs are chargeable. So in order to repair this, it's going to cost. So to current income, right? So it's not to our income, it's to their income. It's about income, it's about their money. How much y'all got? We know they have these monies because they're talking about this sovereign wealth thing and these funds. They've been talking about this upteen trillions of what they have going on, this quadrillions of what they have that I guess they've been storing away. So it's what they got, not what we got. It's not based on our income, but what they can afford. So whereas an improvement is a capital expenditure. In order for it to be improved, they got to pay. People say, well, I don't want no check. I ain't about to cut me no check, man. You better cut that check. Listen. The commerce necessary for the Creek Nation shall be carried. The commerce necessary for the Creek Nation shall be carried on through the ports and by the citizens of the United States. That treaty still stands. Where the money at? Let's go here. Where's the other part at? Boom. 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 Where's the annuities at? Where's the annuities at? I don't know. I thought I had it somewhere. It's in there somewhere. Let me just keep going. All right. So okay. So repairs are chargeable to current income, whereas an improvement is a capital expenditure which requires depreciation over the life of the improvement. So depreciation means that the value is going down. And definitely the value of everything has gone down. Right? Because now all of our lands are barren. And they just drilling oil. All these oil things they drilling on. All this stuff. No habitability nowhere. Okay. Landlord has obligation to keep premises in such repair as to meet local building and sanitary code requirements. That really doesn't pertain, but under the circumstances, the landlords have been moved, and some of them are on their land and lost control of it while they're there. This is why people talk about, well, I'm on my ancestral land. We right here, over here. Boo, 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 boo. Are you paying taxes? If you paying taxes, if you are paying taxes, you don't own shit. All right, now let's get to reparations, right? Here's reparation. Payment for an inquiry. We're going to do this, hit restitution, and we're done. Okay? But if you see right up here, you heard the word restore, remedy, renovate. Now let's see what reparations say. Payment for injury. What does it say up here? Injury. Redress for a wrong done. Dilapidation or partial destruction. Several states have adopted the Uniform Crime Victims Reparation Act. Certain federal statutes also provide for reparations for violation of act. For example, persons suffering losses because of violations of Commodity Future Trading Act may seek reparation under the Act against violators, 7 U.S.C.A. subsection 18, United States Code annotated. That's what the A is standing for. So what is this Uniform Crime Victims Reparation Act? We'll go over that another time. We're just going to get into these definitions. Payment made by one country to another for damages during war. Uh-oh. Does this pertain to anything? And this is says, see also restitution. So this payment made by one country to another for damages during war. Wait a minute. Was we at war? They don't say that. Well, they do say it, but they don't say it. All right. So let's get over here to restitution. So you see, reparations only had that one little thing right there. But this repair was very extensive. So if you see right here, you got repair, you got case law, you got reparations, you have this Uniform Crime Victims Reparation Act. Okay. And then this Commodity Futures Trading Act. We got to see about that too. Because commodities, right? We had the tobacco, we had all these things going on, all this trade, all these natural resources, all these things are now commodities. And they were commodities back then as well. So maybe it's something that needs to be looked into as well. Because if we're supposed to get paid annuities, then if we're supposed to be paid annuities, annuities are connected to what? Stocks, mutual funds, bonds, products. Okay. Now let's get over here to restitution. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to come back to this. I just saw repatriation. Okay. Where are we at? Restitution. After I'm done, I'm gonna leave that up. Anybody want to come up? I only got the basic one, so only 6 people could come up. I ain't even sure I want to use this, but you know, it seems like it's cool. It's got more features than Zoom. But damn, this StreamYard is high as eagle stuff. You know what I mean? Okay, hurry up, man. There we go. Restitution. All right, so let's blow it up. Oh, that's too big. All right, let's come over here. So it says restitution, act of restoring. Okay, that was in repair. Restoration of anything to its rightful owner. Check. We got that? We fall under that category? The act of making good or giving equivalent for any loss, damage, or injury. There we go again, that word injury again. Damage and indemnification. Real quick, let's get the proper understanding of what indemnification means. Indemnification. Okay, to indemnify, also known as indemnity or indemnification, means compensating a person for damages or losses they have incurred or will incur related to a specified accident, incident, or event. Typically, parties making a written agreement in which one party indemnitor promises to indemnify the other party, the indemnity, for future specified losses. Now, isn't that what the treaties were about for us? We were to be indemnified. We weren't supposed to be liable for anything they did. If they did mess up, they were the ones that were supposed to pay. That's why you have it right here in this situation, right here, in these treaties. In these treaties. George Washington said in his proposal to the Upper Creeks, Lower Creeks, and Seminoles, he said to the chiefs, the commerce necessary, this is the first article, the commerce necessary for the Creek Nation shall be carried on through the ports and by the citizens of the United States, if substantial and effectual arrangements shall be made for that purpose by the United States. Okay. This is what we're talking about right here. Now, and this is through the treaty, you have indemnification. Through the indemnification, you have an insurance policy. Why you think they had to pay annuities or annual payments? We were bonding them. We were setting up the policies. We had the policies for them. Any losses, anything happened, right? They come and report that to their insurance carriers to make sure they was able to get whatever they need, any accidents or whatever, any injuries by any means. Okay. Now, let's go back to this. Act of restoring, restoration of anything to its rightful owner, the act of making good or giving equivalent for any loss, damage, or injury, and indemnification. And you guys don't share it. You ain't got to share this out. This ain't nothing but just me doing some raggedy. I'm going to delete this after it's done. I'm just trying to get a feel of it. But we're going to talk about this, though. And believe me, I'm going to come back to this. I'll leave it up for a little bit. If y'all want to clip some of this stuff, that's cool. Restoration of status. Okay, so that's State versus Barnett. Case law. Restoration of status quo. Okay, if anybody don't know what the status quo is basically bringing the proper level to the people. So we're just dealing with the Americans. We're dealing with the Aboriginal Americans and Indians, the American Indians, the indigenous people of this land through these definitions. So these suspect classifications, Black, Negro, colored, and all these African American and all the different things that they call us now go away. Or if they are to maintain, then they maintain amongst the people that are considered to be United States citizens, and under their rules, they can call you whatever they want. And you own nothing. Okay, so if that's so under this status quo, so the restoration of the status quo will be a reparation. It will be a restoration of our original status, our proper status, and where we're supposed to be. And with that option and that choice, some people might just say, "Oh, I'm cool." I hear people say, "Oh, all that going back over it, man, I ain't doing all that." Okay, that's cool. That's your choice. But remember, you're only going to get this opportunity once, not going to come back again. So, restoration of status quo and is amount which would put plaintiff in as good a position as he would have been if no contract had been made, and restores the plaintiff value of what he parted with in performing contract. So our performing contract is the treaty. It's the only thing we can hang our hats on. Now, under these circumstances, you have the Title 25 of the United States Code dealing with the Indians. They need to clarify that. So what is the real boundary line of the Mississippi? We don't know that. People might guess, but we don't know. And this is where we get ourselves into positions because we think we know and we do not know. They have to clarify it because they have all the records now. Anything that you see is diluted records that have so much ambiguous stuff up in there, nobody knows which is which. So, restoration of status quo is amount which would put plaintiff in as good a position as he would have been if no contract had been made. Right? So you have the 14th Amendment, you have the Indian Citizenship Act, you have the Civil Rights Act, all the Civil Rights Act, and the end on the Indian Civil Rights Act. You have all these different acts and things like that were put in there through legislation and through all these other means. In my belief, based on my research now, we had nothing to do with. People think just because a dude melanated, he's an Indian. Not true. I mean, once you pledge your allegiance to another nation, or to a country, or to another sovereign, you're done. You're done with being an Indian. You're done with being that type of entity. You have now expatriated over to another nation. Okay, so you have to know that you can't, even though you do, you can't conflate the two. Value of what he parted with within performing contract. Okay, here's another case law. A person who has been unjustly enriched at the expense of another. Okay, it's a nice little check. I mean, there's flags, United States flags all over the place. United States flags in every state. They pretty much have occupation and all these things. And we don't even know how it was done. It just happened. We don't know. Stop acting like you know, because you don't know. So a person who has been unjustly enriched at the expense of another is required to make restitution to the other. Now, it doesn't say may, can think about it. It's required to make restitution to the other. Now, this is restatement of the law, restitution, section 1. People say, what's that? Okay, restatement of the law, restitution, section 1. Yeah, might want to look into that. And we'll get into these things. In torts, restitution is essentially the measure of damages. While in contracts, a person aggrieved by a breach is entitled to be placed in the position in which he would have been if the defendant had not breached. So in contracts, a person aggrieved by a breach is entitled to be placed in the position in which he would have been. So that means you have to put me back in my, so once you breach that contract and you pretty much if you are enriched unjustly, change the status quo. Once I come in torts, in restitution, in the restatement of law, restitution section 1, and all the case laws that go in combined, I still had that status. My status never changed. Even if I volunteered or said it. I might have called myself a black man or something like that, or a nigga, Negro, whatever. Maybe I called myself those things, but under the situations, I still have the status that I was born with and my ancestors were born with, what was passed down. Whether I use these other words in trade or in other type of situations, you still was not supposed to breach your contract that you made. because you know who I am. Okay? That's a good place to look at what this is saying. So, in saying this again, right, in torts, right, this is tort law. What a tort is dealing with a personal is dealing with injury. Restitution is essentially the measure of damages. Restitution is essentially the measure of damages. Now, what this is saying, this is giving you the basic bones of what restitution is. It's the measure of damages. And when you measure the damages, that tells you how much, right? So it's the measure of damages while in contracts, right? So this is how we reading it. In torts, pause. Restitution is essentially the measure of damages. Pause. I'm telling you what restitution is. Now, while in contracts, oh, this is coming with this because you're still dealing with restitution. While in contracts, a person aggrieved by a breach, and they're using this as an example, is entitled to be placed in the position in which he would have been if the defendant had not breached. Restoring. Okay. In the law of commercial sales, the buyer's rights to restitution are governed by UCC subsection 2-718. And I'll check and see if that applies, because these are law of commercial sales. Right. So in admiralty law, maritime law, the Uniform Commercial Code is very important. All right. So it says also, see also unjust enrichment doctrine of. So this is the doctrine of unjust enrichment. Now I'm showing these things because these things that's in bold, these case laws and all that, these codes are very important. This is how you're going to be able to make your claim. And it has criminal law, maritime law, restitution of conjugal rights. Then you have right here, writ of restitution. This is a whole writ for restitution. Now, if you don't know what a writ is, it's an order. All right. So now, under the circumstances, as you see that there's different levels of courts. Okay. Who do we address this to? State, federal court or the district court, chancery court, international courts, Supreme Court. Who do we address this to? Who do you address this to? That's the question. What is the order of how you get this done? How do you go down the line and first address it to? Who does it go to first? Based on all the situations that we have. This is what we got to understand. Okay. I saw something. I want to deal with expatriation real quick. I just saw that when I saw repatriation. I want to go to expatriation so we can understand what expatriation is. There you go. Expatriation, the voluntary act of abandoning one's country and becoming the citizen or subject of another. Check and mate. Everything that I show, all the way up into this place, is that you can't be a victim when you changed allegiance from one to another. So if you took a voluntary act of abandoning your country and becoming the citizen or subject of another, here's the citizen or subject again. Said or. If you did that voluntary act of abandoning your country and becoming the citizen or subject of another, where's your reparations at? Where's restitution at? You gave that up. And you gave up any rights to any of that. Sorry. But not sorry. Hate to tell you. So you can be proud of all your people that worked in Congress or, worked public office and, did all these things within the United States and all that. Be proud of that. Now you can see why some of these so-called, well, I'm going to call them black people. Now you see why these black people in politics do what they do and say what they say and don't say what they don't say. And that's what? Reparations. Why? Because they got theirs. A lot of them got theirs. They doing good. I mean, real good, making good money. Probably come from good money as well. They don't want no reparations. They even know they selling you a lie because they can't give you reparations under what they're talking about. As the definition as I just read, you had to have something to get to be repaired and things restored. You had to have something. If you came off a boat, from somewhere else, you didn't lose nothing on this continent. You lost something from somewhere else. But that's somewhere else. You got to deal with them somewhere else because they took you. They sold you. The people that came into the United States and worked that stuff off, they got their 40 acres. They got their 40 acres in a mule. They got their money. They were freed. All these indentured servants were freed, and they got allotments. I wouldn't even call them allotments. They were given homestead. So you can't claim it. Now, these people that did move around and say, hey, we don't want no parts of that. We out. Hey, just give us our little, go ahead and pay us that rent and keep paying these annuities and we'll be over here and we'll get out y'all way. And as soon as what that did was that gave the United States a little more access to move around, in which they did. And every time they moved around, people left. Like my line of people went from one spot to one spot. And I say within 10 years, they moved again. Within 10 years, they moved again. They probably was like moving around until the late 1800s. And that's when they stayed. People was always moving. Some people left early. Some people just say, "Hey, I'm a dip over here." That's not the United States territory yet. They're not a part of the colonies. I'm gonna dip over here, make me some money, do some business over here with my folks over here. And then once it started being spread over, then they dipped over there. Eventually, they came, ended up in Oklahoma, Texas, otherwise. Arkansas, really, it was Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, them three necessary areas. New Mexico. Some people went into Mexico, but this is what I'm showing you. People, when you hear expatriation, people always think about other countries. Oh, we're expatriating out of the United States to France. We expatriating to Haiti or wherever we're going. Brazil, we going somewhere else. And really you expatriating to somewhere on the other side of the pond. You see what I'm saying? So under the circumstances, it's safe to say that if everything that I showed, if the indigenous nations were their own political entity, their own thing, then if you went over here and pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, you expatriated, even though you're on the same continent. Because as I showed, of signifies a union or possession connecting a collective entity to the continent. The United States of signifies a union or possession connecting the collective entity to the continent. Connecting the collective entity to the continent. So the United States of America, meaning that it belongs to America. And it says it right there, emphasizing that it's a nation formed from and belonging to the landmass. And as we know right here, 1828, Noah Webster defined American as an adjective meaning pertaining to America. And as a noun, initially referring to the indigenous copper-colored races. Initially. So that means American did not start off with anything else but the indigenous copper-colored races. All right. So this is what we have right here. I don't know what y'all think about that. This thing is a little bit different. Yeah. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I got to figure this thing out. I got to get a tutorial jumping off, figure this thing out. But yeah, under the circumstances, yep, we're going to start getting out and make sure I get these thumbnails out, let y'all know. Make sure you subscribe. Just share this thing out for a minute. You see what I'm saying? So there you go. You know, hey, what's up, Rod? Hey, look, okay, that's 208. I can't, when I'm sharing, I don't even see the chat. So Rod asked the question, how can you be foreign to something you own? Well, the reason why, and that's the point. So hopefully you didn't think I was saying we was foreign to the land, being foreign like that. No, we were foreign to the United States. We were foreign to the United States. And the United States was not really necessarily foreign to us. We were foreign to them, meaning that we had our own separate things, meaning that we wasn't subject to any of those things. That's what you call a foreign, like a foreign national. You see what I'm saying? Like we doing business, but we're a foreign national. We might be within that, but we come in and we get out. We're not there to participate in their daily things. We in and we out. Yeah, so that's why the of is very important. The of is very important. The or is very important. All these things are very important based on the fact that it describes the necessary things that we really have to get straight in order to make the proper, declaration and express what is to be done. What needs to be repaired, what needs to be restored. Because everybody here is on our dime. Okay. So Okay, so hope they prepared. We just got to hold them at law. Exactly. And you said a nationality, we sitting in the backseat in our hands. Exactly. Okay. We sitting in on the backseat of our. We sitting in the backseat on our hands. I got you. Yeah, I can understand that too as well. But I don't think it's because we can't or we're just doing it. I don't think people don't understand how to present it. This shit is difficult. Like you can pretty much, you probably can't count on one hand how many people can present what I just presented and put it in order. Because people are looking at it from the wrong perspective. This is what I'm saying. You cannot use these terminologies unless you're applying it to being in a suspect classification. People say, well, we've been misclassified, reclassified, and all this type of stuff. Okay. How do you express that in law? So under the circumstances, that can be a form of involuntary servitude and peonage. Let me show you this real quick. Now, this is how crazy it gets, right? Title 42, Section 1994, peonage abolished. This is what you would call your restatement. I think this is restatement something. I forget what this is. This is subsection 1990. The holding of any person to service or labor under the system known as peonage is abolished forever and prohibited in any territory or state of the United States. And all acts, laws, resolutions, orders, regulations, or usages of any territory or state which have heretofore established, maintained, or enforced, or by virtue of which any attempt shall hereafter be made to establish, maintain, or enforce directly or indirectly the voluntary or involuntary service or labor of any persons as peons in liquidation of any debt or obligation or otherwise are declared null and void. Now watch this. Peon, any form of wage labor, financial exploitation, coercive economic practice, or policy in which the victim or a laborer, peon, has little control over employment or economic conditions. I mean, damn. Now, here we go. Peon and peonage existed both the colonial period and post-colonial period of Latin America, as well as the period after the end of slavery in the United States when black codes were passed to retain African-American freedmen as labor through other means. Sharecropping, taxes, mortgages, for an example. But this says this is supposed to be abolished. Peon is supposed to be abolished. But see, here's the thing, and this is where a lot of people don't really grasp a lot of different things, and this is where I come in, is that right here, in liquidation of any debt or obligation or otherwise are declared null and void. Damn. So you telling me the voluntary or voluntary service or labor. So it says service or labor. If any person says peons. Now, I'm not going to go in detail, but I got plenty of examples that I could use. I just want you to get the clear understanding. But right here, $1581, peonage, obstructing, Title 18. Let's go back here. Crimes and criminal procedure, that's Title 18. Peonage, obstructing enforcement. Whoever holds or returns any person to a condition of peonage or arrest any person with the intent of placing him in or returning him to a condition of peonage shall be fined under this title or in prison not more than 20 years or both. So if we know now what peonage is, right? Wage labor. And we know right here has been abolished. And that's the civil side of 42 USC. That's your civil side. Your 18 USC is this side. Or arrest. It uses this word, arrest. Any person with the intent of placing him or returning him to a condition of peonage. It's a 20-year sentence. So how are these people getting away with it? And see, you see right here, 1948. See, the other thing that I read was 1948 as well. A lot of things was going down in 1948 where they had to start putting these things in there. And that's what I was showing you in the Title 25 USC, Section 174, 175. Those dates when these things came in was in 1940s. So there's so many different aspects. That's why I say the suspect classification. So we go back to suspect classification. And then I'll just play some music on the way out. Is right here. Suspect classification refer to class of individuals who have been historically subject to discrimination. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment imposes restraint on the governmental use of suspect classification. All right. So let me go over here. Let me stop sharing. Boom. Let me get over here. Boom. He said with my blick. Oh, hold on. Let me get you. Man, you don't know I do this shit, copper. Okay. Put user in. All right. Add as moderator. Put user in timeout. Okay, that's the one. Draco. Add as moderator. Boom. All right. There you go. Oh, okay. Hope they prepare. Oh, yeah, that's you. That's you. Okay.